It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero. It's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, whenever you're watching, I hope you're doing all right. I hope you had a great weekend and all that happy stuff. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to the Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to the show. Just visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. Hey, a couple of weeks ago we did a blast from the past on John L. Sullivan. And people regard him as the first major world-recognized sports figure. Well, I say nay, because the first world-recognized sports figure was my man, Tom Molyneux. Read about it. Get a copy of my book. Now, if you're looking to get a signed copy, just visit the website, BillyCBoxing.com. Or if you're looking to get more than one, just drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. Coming up a little bit later, my man Dax Khan will join us with his thoughts on the fights. And speaking of the fights, we will give you all of the results of the major fights, including Mikey Garcia's victory. I got an update on the possible showdown between heavyweights Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. I also have some emails to read. I also have, in the Oscar Valdez versus Scott Quigg title fight this past weekend, Scott Quigg came in overweight, several pounds overweight, and it really created an issue. Not to prevent the fight or anything like that, but it finally got people opening up their eyes of something that we've been talking about for a long time. Does coming in overweight, is it a conditioning thing? Is it an issue where a fighter just can't hit the weight target, or has a inaccurate scale that he's testing himself on? Or is it a tactic? Is it a planned tactic to come in overweight? Especially in a situation where that the other fighter you're fighting isn't going to stop avoid fighting you, etc., etc. So we're going to talk about that. But first, let's get the ball rolling with Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia improved to 38-0 with 30 knockouts and picked up his fourth world title in a different division. This time in the junior welterweight division. When he dethroned IBF world champion Sergey Lipinets, who drops to 13-1. The fight took place in a rainy San Antonio, Texas outdoor coliseum, which I thought was kind of cool. That every time you got the cameras with the lights you'd see all that rain, and kudos to all the fans that braved the conditions and were there live. Me personally, I didn't get a drop of water on me since I got to watch it from my living room. But the way the judges saw it, all in favor of Mikey Garcia, 116, 111, 117, 110 twice. The way I saw this fight is the reason why I love Mikey Garcia. Lipinets was a really good fighter. There's no question about it. And what I loved about his style is that he goes and gets it. In other words, this is a guy that fights and is not willing to exchange. Mikey Garcia is, if a fighter hits him 5 times, he hits his opponent back 8, 10 times. That's how you win decisions. He did drop Lipinets in this fight. I thought it was a good performance. I got an email from my man Coach, who linked me to an article written that felt that Lipinets won. The fight. All I can say is, what fight were they watching? Joining me right now to give me his thoughts on that fight was Sal Rocky Senecola. Good morning, Sal.
Good morning, Bill. I'll tell you what, I even saw Lipinets' wife look like she knew that he lost the fight.
She was a cutie. Hey, you know what? She was a cutie. I got to be honest. And I'm looking at her when they put the camera on her the first time, and I'm like, oh God, geez, what is she, 12? And all of a sudden they go, yeah, they have 3 kids together. I was like, oh my God, I can't judge ages anymore. But what'd you think of the fight?
I thought that it was a great test. Also, debut for Mikey Garcia at the junior welterweight division. And I'll tell you what, this guy, he's just so sound, so fundamentally sound and solid and consistent. And there were many times that Lipinets offered to take the fight to Mikey and exchange some good shots. But Mikey had an answer for most of everything that Lipinets came at him with. And that's why Mikey Garcia is such a special fighter. A great fighter. And when he caught, he took that right. I think Lipinets came in with a right uppercut or so from a distance, and Mikey Garcia timed it. He's always in a position to look where he is going to have an opening, or be a counterpuncher, or be aggressive. And then you gotta love Mikey Garcia for his sound tactic, his desire, and his conditioning. And these guys were both good warriors in this fight, and Lipinets just came up short, and but a good effort. But Mikey Garcia, I just love to watch this guy fight. He's a great fighter.
He was connecting with that right hand. And, the funny thing is, the article that Coach forwarded me, and I was reading it, is saying that he was trying to land his right all night and couldn't. I'm like, what fight was this guy watching? It was like, I don't know. I thought maybe it was a joke, because everything he said, I thought the complete opposite. But this is what I love about Mikey Garcia. He comes to fight, and he fights. And like you just alluded to, no disrespect to Sergey Lipinets, because I thought that he put on a great fight. And I think anybody else, he wins, kind of. I mean, that's not true. I mean, 140-pound weight classes. Terrence Crawford is out of it now. I don't think he beats Crawford. But what I liked is that he kept coming forward, and he was trying to stay in this fight from the beginning right through the end. But Mikey Garcia knows how to win on scorecards too. A lot of times you'll see a fighter, lose a round. Or they'll dance around or something like that, and they'll go back to the corner. Then they're shocked when the scorecards are so close. But Mikey Garcia, he's very proficient at knowing what's going on. So if an opponent happens to, land 3 or 4 punches, you can bet your last dollar that Mikey Garcia will come back with twice as many, just to make sure that he's still leading on the scorecards. Do you notice that with Garcia?
You know what? Let me tell you, you pinpointed and hit it right on the head. I loved how you just described that, because that's exactly, Mikey Garcia is not only a great fighter, shows defensive skills, shows offensive skills, but you can see he's a tactician. He knows where he is in the round, and he knows how to work around efficiently and effectively. No, I think, Mikey Garcia is one of my favorite fighters out there today.
Yeah, there's no question. He's a talented fighter. I do think this. He is 30 years old, and they're talking about him moving up to 147. He weighed about 147 on fight night, and the way the weights bounce these days is if you make 147 on fight night, you're most likely fighting a guy about 155 at least. So if Mikey Garcia filled out to 147 on fight night where he came in at 139, I can't see him being big enough to fight the 147. I can't see him coming in, 10 pounds heavier than he was on Saturday night to campaign in the welterweight division like people were alluding to. He did mention that he plans on going back down to 135. I think it proved that, he, as much as because he definitely has accuracy, and like you said, he's a technician in there. He times his opponents well. He counter punches. His stance is technically sound. He delivers his punches with power. But I think in the 135-pound weight class, most of those shots that landed on Lipinets would have dropped any 135-pounder. I mean, yes, he counted in that 7th round. That left hook put Lipinets right on his butt. But it was more of a, Lipinets didn't seem really hurt after that. It was still a 10-8 round. And Garcia knew that he wasn't hurt either because he didn't jump all over him. But I'm not so sure that maybe his power has not went up in the bigger weight classes. What do you think?
I think 140. I think his power will continue. I do think that like I borrow Clint Eastwood's all saying, a man's got to know his limitations, and these guys that keep going up in weight class, there's going to be a cap off. There's got to be a certain point where it's no longer justifiable, as you suggested. Mikey Garcia might be 147 pounds on fight night. And you could rest assured if that was a welterweight fight, the other guy you're going to be fighting is closer to 160 by fight night or 157. So I think as junior welterweight, Mikey will have a lot of success. But he's a natural lightweight on that level. And I think his power will sustain and remain as a lightweight. I think he could carry it up to 140, but when you get into another weight class like the famous 147-pound weight class, you're talking about guys like remember Sugar Ray Leonard at 147 coming down from 160. These are bigger guys, and Mikey Garcia could reign a long time, lightweight and even junior welterweight. I think he could have a lot of success with.
I
don't want to see him going welterweight.
No, and quite honestly, it almost sounded like he realizes that maybe even the junior welterweight to me.
No,
but and granted, Lipinets is a tough guy.
He is.
So I don't know some of those, but Garcia was clearly landing some hard punches. This guy was throwing punches with like they used to say with Mike Tyson, with bad intentions. And except for that 7th round, Lipinets didn't go anywhere, but he did bust him up a bit. That's for sure.
Oh, he sure did. He absolutely did. Yeah, and that 7th round, I'll tell you, that left hook was delivered perfectly. And I think Lipinets came from a little bit too far away with tried a right uppercut, and bam, that left hook just caught him perfectly. Whether he was a little off balance from throwing the uppercut or not, it doesn't matter. He went down, and it was a solid left hook by Mikey Garcia.
Well, I'm impressed with Garcia. I love him. He's a pound-for-pound fighter, in my opinion. Now 38-0 with 30 knockouts. We'll see where he goes. As far as Lipinets is concerned, hey, 13-1 with 10 knockouts. This guy, a lot of times when we say this on a Monday morning, and I think it's true with Lipinets, his value did not diminish at all for his performance. What I see is I saw a guy that just didn't have the arsenal of skill that Mikey Garcia had in terms of the sweet science. But for a guy that was going into this fight with 13 professional fights, Yes, he had other combat sports experience, but as far as boxing is concerned, 13 pro fights, not that many amateur fights by definition.
Only about 40.
Right, but I mean by definition that's not a lot. I mean I know Deontay didn't have nowhere near that, but the truth of the matter is Lipinets I want to see again, and
Yes,
I don't think his value diminished much. Do you?
No, I do not. Especially, you lose to a guy in a caliber and of a Mikey Garcia. I mean, that almost, it could almost be said to increase your value, because it was a great performance and effort on his stock, on his side, and in his defense. I mean, he was in the fight. I had the score. I scored a 118 to 110. Not saying that he was that much outclassed or outboxed, but there were some close rounds, but I just gave a lot to Mikey Garcia, and I think that Lipinets did show a great effort, and I think his stock is not going to be diminished from this loss.
One other thing I want to point out about the fight is that you could say what you want about Mikey Garcia. I mean, Mikey Garcia, I think he's technically sound. He's a great ambassador for the sport. He's always smiling. He's very serious. I look at him as a blue-collar fighter, even though, he seems a little diva-ish at times, especially lately, in terms of waiting and cool and collective in that corner, in between rounds, and that has to go a long way. I wish a lot of other young fighters would watch and see how it is in the corner of Mikey Garcia in between rounds, and see how productive that minute is, rather than and how professional. I mean, the stool is there, the water is there, the cut man is ready. I mean, it's all it's robotic, and that's what you need. You need that sense of comfort, that familiar team around you. These guys. They get to a point, next thing you know, all they think they need a trainer for is to give them water, and it's not true. You see chaotic corners. Now, I love Buddy McGirt. I love Buddy McGirt.
Yeah,
to me, Buddy McGirt is one of the best trainers out there. But he's kind of become this hired gun that they bring in, and there's always a language barrier. So, Buddy McGirt's trying to tell his guy something, and now there's an interpreter. It's like you hear when they're talking in Mikey Garcia's corner one time, they're going, you hear his brother say, jab, you got to go jab, you got to jab, 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 jab. He must have said jab 10 times, and the interpreter goes, he wants him to use his jab. So I mean, yeah, all right. I mean, we didn't have to hear him say jab, jab, jab 10 times, but how many other times do they, truncate what is being said? And that's important, I think, more for the fighter than the fan. What do you think?
I think that's funny. Yeah, it's a good case in point. I'll tell you, you made a classic observation, because you could see that there was no chaos, there was no rhetoric. Everybody knew their role in Mikey Garcia's corner, and no swinging of emotions, this and that. It was cool, calm, collected delivery. No, and that goes a long way. And while you were describing that corner, all I could think back was poor Mike Tyson's corner the night that he lost his title to. Oh gosh, I just went blank. But you know what I mean. This corner that night was chaotic. It was nothing. So when that's when a fighter, he says, "Well, we'll do this. Well, we'll do that." Even though the fighter is the only one in the ring, but I had a habit of saying that too. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that, because you feel when you have confidence in your corner, your cut man, your trainer, your second. It makes a difference. It does. Because you could fight. You can go out there. You're gonna be. Either attended to if you have a cut, a hematoma, swelling, anything, and that you have the confidence in the corner that's going to be there for you. So you saw that with Mikey Garcia, and I look forward to seeing Mikey Garcia fight again.
I've always said, you hear the corner always going, we got to do this. We got to do that. We got to get him early. We got to do this. Then the fighter loses. He goes, well, he didn't do this. He didn't do that. All of a sudden, we goes to he. But anyway, hold that thought. We got some other fight results we're going to talk about. I got an update on AJ and Deontay. I also got some other stuff. We got Dax Khan coming in about 9 o'clock, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking of us, joining me right now is my man Sal Rocky Senecola. And Sal, a couple other fights I wanted to touch on. On the undercard of the Garcia fight, I thought, it was a beatdown, really. Kyril Relika improved to 22-2 at 19 knockouts when he won a unanimous decision over Rances Barthelemy, who drops his first loss of his career. He drops to 26-1 with 13 knockouts, 117-110, and two of the judges had it 118-109. Barthelemy was deducted a point for a low blow in the seventh round. He did land a couple of them. I don't know if you got to see this fight. I don't think you had a chance, but Reliki, and Kyrie Reliki basically put on a clinic, just battered Barthélemy around the ring. And Barthélemy, the Cuban fighter, the sweet science, blah, 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 you hear about he could never set and throw any punches. Even his corner was frustrated with him. It was a great performance by Kyrie Reliki. Did you see any clips or anything of that fight?
No, I'm sorry, I did not see that fight.
Well, check it out because it was a good one.
I will.
Some other fights I wanted to mention real quickly. We had the one I know you watched in Carson, California. WBO featherweight champ Oscar Valdez improved to 24-0 when he won a 12-round unanimous decision over Scott Quigg, who drops at 34-2 with a couple of draws. Now, Quigg didn't make weight. I think he ended up being 3 pounds overweight. And it caused kind of a stir. But Valdez, half of his team said don't fight. But Valdez wanted to fight. So therefore, should Valdez had lost that fight, he wouldn't have retained his title. But Quigg wouldn't have got it either. So give credit to Valdez for continuing with the fight. He clearly was the smaller guy. And the one knock on Oscar Valdez that I can see is he runs out of gas. But did he show heart? I mean, the fight was brutal, really, when you think about it, because it was reported after broken, though they kept saying he didn't. The funny thing was that was the first thing that came to my mind when they asked him, "Do you have a?" They asked him in the corner, "Do you have a cut in your mouth?" He says, "No." And the corner guy, his trainer, says, "Keep your mouth closed." Like he was worried about him getting a broken jaw. Problem was, Sal, he had already had the broken jaw, and he went on to fight with that for quite some time. And man, wow. I've never had a broken jaw, but I can only imagine what it feels like when an opponent, especially a much bigger opponent who can hit, lands a shot on that broken jaw. And there were many that Oscar Valdez took after the alleged broken jaw took place. What was your thoughts on the fight?
Well, I thought it was a great fight, great display, and I'll tell you what, the fight with a broken jaw, I mean, it was touted and famed afterwards of how Muhammad Ali sustained a broken jaw, I think, with Kenny Norton. And, he continued to go through the fight, and same thing here. I mean, that's got to be painful. Thank God I never had one. But, man, to think about that, it's just incredible that you suck it up, you do what you got to do to be in the fight, and to be in the fight to win. And that's what Oscar Valdez showed with the heart. And Scott Quigg showed heart, too. It was a good fight, a war. And, the better man won that night.
The way the judges scored it, 117, 111 twice, 118, 110, all in favor of Valdez. Can't argue with the scorecards, but what a interesting fight. And, Freddie Roach now trains Scott Quigg. He's saying, I'm shocked that he came in overweight, blah, blah, blah. But they were talking about, and by the way, Valdez was rushed to the hospital afterwards to get his jaw attended to. But, it starts to make you wonder about these weight issues. And they were talking about it during the broadcast. Are they, missed weight points that a fighter, is shooting for? He's trying to make weight. Does he miss the weight? Does he undertrain, overtrain? Did they have an inaccurate scale? Or was it a tactic? Do they plan on coming in overweight? I mean, think about it. Really, Scott Quigg was in a better position. I mean, what did they do? They fined him some money, but, he wasn't going to – he gives up the opportunity of winning the title, but he had his eyes set. Should he have won this fight, he had his eyes set on a rematch with Carl Frampton. So you can't help but wonder if it was planned. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, you know how I feel about that. I mean, there's not one point in time. If you sign a contract and you're supposed to come in at a fight at a certain weight class, there's no ifs, ands, and buts or excuses why you cannot make that weight. I mean, I hate to say it, Bill, and I used to carry a little medical scale with me that was balanced to a professional medical scale. I mean, I had it in part of my gym bag. I would weigh myself all the time. And the thing is this: these guys should know what they are doing. And you want to know something? I don't think we had this much problems when the same day weigh-ins. I don't know, but these guys coming in with a day before the fight, not making weight. Maybe it is a strategy. I don't know, because even after, if they don't make the weight initially, they're given a little time to come back to the scale and make weight. You know, not all day, not all afternoon, but they do have enough time to lose a pound or so if they try. But the whole thing is, it's inexcusable. You should not have an opportunity in any way, shape, or form to not make the mark and make the weight of the contract that you signed to fight at.
Well, I'm going to talk about that a little later. There's a proposed new basic, repercussions if you don't make weight. And let me just say this. Oscar Valdez is the kind of fighter I love to watch. I mean, this guy comes and wants to take it to you. And, he forces that same kind of fight out of his opponents. You had said about Prograis, who we're going to talk about now. This was a guy that said, thank God, basically, I'll paraphrase here. He basically said, hey, thank God Mayweather's out of the picture. Nobody's going to copy that boring-ass fight style, and now we're going to bring it to it. And when you watch guys like Oscar Valdez fight, and, of course, Regis Prograis, you can see that it's so much more entertaining, and it's going to help bring more fans not only watching but buying tickets to see live. I mean, it is what it is. You can try to spin the safety end and all of that stuff as much as you want, but at the end of the day, it's entertainment, and people want to see action-packed fights. They don't want to see Floyd Mayweather-style fights. They don't. I'm sorry, they don't. All you got to do is say to yourself, just close your eyes. Think of a great fight that Floyd had, and you'll fall asleep because you won't be able. Your mind will just go to bed. But anyway, one other fight I wanted to mention on the undercards, Andy Ruiz, which is a heavyweight, fought on the undercard. It was the first time he returned to the ring after he fought Devin Vargas. I'm sorry, he did fight Devin Vargas. He had returned to the ring over from an injury or whatever. I don't know why he was out. I think it was a couple of different things. But Devin Vargas hit the canvas at 1 minute and 38 seconds of the first round. Andy Ruiz improves to 30-1 with 20 knockouts. He's a heavyweight that should be in the discussion at this point. I've made fun of him in the past because he's a fat pig, and I still think he's a fat pig. But the truth of the matter is he's moving up. He's moving up the ladder. And Devin Vargas, listen, the question on Devin Vargas is, did he train? He's got a lot of responsibility, wife, kids, etc., and he's got a full-time job. And I've had him on cards before, and the word on the curb was that he did not really train. He came for a payday or whatever. Him getting stopped by Andy Ruiz tells me one of two things. Either he came for the payday or Andy Ruiz is really improving. So either way, it looked good for Ruiz. Now, in a fight that you were looking forward to, I knew big time that you were. I know you've become a fan of Regis Prograis. He improved to 21-0 with 18 knockouts and picked up the interim WBC junior welterweight title, even though the WBC said they don't do interim titles anymore. But it took place at the Deadwood Mountain Grand in Deadwood, South. Deadwood, I think it is on HBO. Deadwood, I loved it. I to this day I don't know why they stopped it. Maybe because they killed everybody off. But
Deadwood,
Prograis 21-0 with 18 knockouts, destroyed Julius Indongo, who dropped to 22-2. Indongo had been a world champion, had never lost until he lost to Terrence Crawford. But something wasn't right with him. Either Prograis was that good, or Indongo. He was tripping over his own feet. I don't know what was the story there, to be honest with you. It was 2 minutes and 54 seconds of the second round. It was over. To me, it was over in the first round. What did you take by this fight, man?
Yeah, it was funny because he didn't seem that steady. Like his feet weren't on him, and he was clearly, trying to be the boxer or so and moving in and out. But like you said, it looked a little shaky from the get-go. And Prograis Prograis was definitely coming at him and doing things. I don't like how Prograis keeps that right, because he is a southpaw, how he keeps that right hand so low with the lead. I mean, I just hope he seems to have always been able to defend when a punch is coming at him. But I'll tell you what, I think Indongo was a little shaky to start, but it was a clear fight that you saw Prograis just take it to him, and was a little more aggressive, a little more much more authority with the punches, and he took him out early.
You know, Regis Prograis, I think in order for him to progress, he's gotta calm down with the seek and destroy. I think what we're seeing with him, and you make a great point with that lack of defense, is that he's taken on this seek and destroy persona. When he beat Diaz Jr. At a fight that I was ringside at the Turning Stone, he was seek and destroy. He wasn't even the favorite in that fight, and he was not even rated as high as Indongo in this fight. But he came out to seek and destroy. One thing I want to mention real quick, and you can comment as soon as we come back from break, is and I was trying to give Indongo the benefit of the doubt, but I thought that Prograis, the end of the first round, the one that kind of sent him in trouble, bothered him. If you notice, if you can recall, during the, in between the first and second round, in the corner, Indongo seemed out of it. He seemed like something was really hurting him, and his trainer's even going, "You okay? You all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm okay. Like when you hurt yourself, and and people saying, "Are you okay?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And you say to yourself, "Oh my God," you're ready to cry. And no, I'm fine. Oh Jesus, it's killing me. But hold that thought. We'll be back in I'd say about 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Mind you, I'm Billy C., damn it. Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And I'm here with my man, Sal Rocky Senacola. We're talking about the fights that took place over the weekend. Dax Khan is scheduled to join us for about a half hour. And, just before we went to break, I thought that, at least in my eyes, which did have a couple of scotches in them when I was watching the fight. But, I will admit this, Sal.
Yes.
When Indongo went to the corner, I thought that Prograis really hurt him to the body. And, I saw him stumbling around like a stork, because that's kind of what he looks like with those skinny little legs. He's 9 feet tall. And he was stumbling around, but rightfully so. I mean, anytime, I'm not a trainer, never claimed to be, never even acted like one after staying at a Holiday Inn Express. But the truth of the matter is when I see a tall fighter against a short, compact guy, I would want him to work the body. I just think the body is susceptible, especially when you see, toothpick legs. And that's the kind of build that Indongo had. And Prograis definitely worked the body. And I thought this kid, Indongo, was in some serious pain in between the first and second round. When they asked him, you all right? He's like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine. He was having trouble breathing. He couldn't have been gassed after one round, Sal. So I don't know, man. I think he was already hurt. What'd you think?
Well, I think it's evident, and I think you point out a good thing. I mean, here it was, Prograis was landing some body shots, and I think maybe one or two of them had gotten through him. It takes a lot out of you right away if you had the wind knocked out of you and or to any level, and it will definitely slow you down and keep you thinking. And it's like, oh geez, now paralysis through analysis, because you gotta I'm defense, I'm hurt a little bit, I'm gonna recover, I gotta sit down, so a lot of things will go through a fighter's mind when he's first feeling vulnerable or hurt. But the bottom line is, I think the body attack made it a short night by that second round knockout too. So I mean, Prograis just put it together early and shut it down fast.
Also on that card, a young top 10 ranked Ivan Baranchyk made quick work out of a experienced fighter in Peter Petrov. Baranchyk improved to 17-0 with 11 knockouts when he stopped Petrov, who dropped to 38-6 with a couple of draws at 1 minute and 12 seconds of the sixth round. I'm surprised it went 6. I mean, to tell you the truth, Baranchyk jumped all over this guy. And Peter Petrov is a quality fighter, but, he's getting up there. Father Time is undefeated. And Peter Petrov is another good example of that. Here's a technically sound guy. Here's a guy that has a lot of good fighters under his belt that he's fought and faced, a guy that's been in these tournaments, an experienced fighter. And he goes up, and for all intent purposes, should have had a more polished skill set than Ivan Baranchyk, who's a young, come at you, rip you apart kind of a fighter. But youth prevails, and Baranchyk got to Petrov quickly. My only question is, could they only afford 2 referees for that fight? I mean, Mark Nelson, who's one of the worst referees in boxing, they ship him all the way out to Deadwood, and he does the back-to-back fights. I mean, I found that kind of strange. But did you get a chance to see the Baranchek-Petrov fight? Did you see that one?
No, I'm sorry, I did not see that fight.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
No,
you were shaking your head. You were shaking your head, and I'm like, you got to speak there, buddy. You know, what? You lost me?
I lost you. I lost you. Went in and out.
Another fight that was on that card that I saw that was kind of interesting was the undefeated heavyweight Junior Fa, who remained undefeated, improved to 14-0 with 8 knockouts when he scored an 8-round majority decision over Craig Lewis, who drops to 14 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. Craig Lewis was out of Detroit, Michigan. And the way the judges scored it, 78-74, 79-73, both in favor of Fa, and one judge had it even, 76-76. Now, I think you could make an argument that that fight was even. I personally didn't score it, but watching the fight, Junior Fa came out very quickly and, was doing very well against Craig Lewis, but then totally ran out of gas. The problem was Craig Lewis ran out of gas too. You know, I mean, when you look at young fighters and I see them get tired, and now granted, this was an 8-round fight, and but still, when I see young fighters get tired after the 3rd or 4th round, I wonder why. I mean, how can that be? I mean, I know nerves could get you tired a little quicker or something like that, but is it strictly conditioning or is it just lack of experience in the ring? What do you think?
You know, when you're fighting 6 or 8 round fights and stuff, you're coming up and you're trying to make the grade to become a 10-round fighter, and it's a lot of things, Bill. I think it's relative to the individual, but conditioning certainly has a lot to do with it. You know, there's a lot of fighters out there that get it, that know how to condition themselves, that know their own body, and a simple run every day is not going to get you there. You've got to put in the time in the gym. You've got to punch at intervals. You got to fight like you train like you fight, and it's a conditioning thing. You know, you could box and move around in the ring, but you have to be able to exert and do the combinations and then recover. And it's all training, all conditioning. And you have to sustain that level and keep in shape all the time, and just fine-tune yourself when you're in camp to really work it. But, there's 3 rounds, you should not be tired. You should not be tired unless it might be just nerves and you lack of confidence, lack of conditioning, or whatever else. Some of it's psychological, but the bottom line is a fighter should be able to sustain a level of intensity for the duration of the fight that he's trained for.
You know, Sal, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that a lot, and we see it a lot, and the one thing that we all admit is that athletes today are bigger, stronger, better conditioned generally, et cetera, et cetera. But the other thing that at least we believe, is that we as society have become weak. You know, we kid around about the participation trophies. My observations with Disney, all these kids being pushed around, the observations at the bus stop. Nobody walks to a bus stop anymore. All these things, and we've become weak. Well, I think that a contributor to the fact that young fighters get gassed is the fact that they're not actually doing road work anymore. A lot of young fighters today are taking advantage of the technology with different running machines, whether it be a bike or the different bikes or the run. What do they call those things? The what do they call it?
Stair stepper or
not
whatever.
The stair step, just a regular run. Well, I'm going blank here. What the hell do they call those?
I had a blank moment earlier.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about? A treadmill. Treadmill. Oh, okay. Treadmill. You see how much I use one of those. I'm a fat bastard. But and there's coach in there going treadmill idiot. But but the truth of the matter is, and the treadmills of today, you could set them to go multiple inclines and change the inclines and all of this, and scientifically they say that it gives you a better workout than running outside, but I don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is because when you're outside, number one, you're breathing some fresh air. Things change. The humidity levels change on a daily basis. You might be running the same path if you're running the streets or if you're running in the woods or whatever, and you have to dodge if you're running in the city, you might have to dodge a pothole or a bum that's sleeping on the corner or something. If you're running in the woods, you might that came down. It becomes more of a natural simulation of what you do in the ring, and I think a lot of young fighters are missing that, Sal.
Well, I think you definitely make a good point. I mean, I could tell you how many trails I ran through the woods, this and that, and everything else. And sometimes you could trip. You got to catch your balance. So it all comes into play. You have different elements that you run in, and I agree with you. I think the treadmill is fine if you're doing it once in a while. Why not? But the bottom line is, I was very fortunate. I had one of my dear friends who was one of the stellar stellar amateur fighter, Jerry Palmieri, who went on to a great career and retired from the New York Giants as the head strength training coach. I remember sitting in Richie Gicchetti's restaurant, and he was outlining my running program for me because he was at this point already either in Jacksonville with the Jaguars, or he was at Oklahoma State with the college teams, and we were talking about running. And he was devising a plan for me to do intervals one day, to do what we call a fartlek the next, to do a recovery run, to do sprints. And it was great to put my body through this. And if you look at some of my fights online, I could punch 10 rounds bell to bell. It had like it was one round. And the conditioning I attribute a lot to was that different changing up of the body's ability to know what aerobic conditioning is, sustained level over a period of time, or anaerobic, which is bursts of spurts and sprints, if you will. So you're oxygenating your blood, you're getting a different kind of workout in there, and I felt running outside is the only place you could get all that in one thing. Maybe I'm wrong. You could sprint, you could do this, you could do a lot of things on treadmills, but no, for me, running and changing up the pattern of your running from sprints to intervals to just a recovery long distance. It all accumulates to giving you the kind of aerobic and anaerobic conditioning you're going to need to fight with. That's it.
No, I think it makes a difference. But hey, just some other things real quick. Also on that card, my man Matt Remillard. I call him my man. I used to love watching him fight. He did do a few years in the Slammer. He's back. He won. So did Trey Lippy Morrison, a heavyweight, the son of the late Tommy Morrison, and Charles Conwell. All three of those guys took home victories. Also, Ronnie Rios, who was supposed to be in a tune-up fight or at least an easy win, lost. He got stopped at 1 minute and 12 seconds of the sixth round by Azat Hanavisian, which took place also on Friday. So a big bump in the road for Ronnie Rios. And also Saul Juarez improved to 24-7 with a draw when he, in a sense, upset Gilberto Parra, who drops to 26-4 in a couple of upsets. Now, speaking of upset, Deontay Wilder, he always gets me upset when he shoots off his mouth. And, he's at it again. He's like Mr. Magoo. And he's been, starting with a steady diet of, I'm going to do that. I want to fight Joshua, blah, 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 blah. And listen, he just came off the best fight of his career. In my opinion, to date, the career-defining fight of Anthony Joshua's career. I loved the fight, okay? And I loved that he showed me so many things that I wanted to see. And I tell you, I think his mouth, as much as I hate it, as much as I hate him with the rhetoric that comes out of his stupid mouth, and he's not the smartest tool in the shed. He's really not. And the pounding of the chest and all of that, I think it's working. this past weekend, he declared war on Anthony Joshua. He says, I declare war on Anthony Joshua. No more excuses, no more waiting, no more dodging me. It's time. It's time to see who's the best, who's the baddest man on the planet. We're the two best heavyweights. It's time to go to war. He says there's no one left but him. Wilder claims that he wants a fight before him, but I just destroyed Luis Ortiz, and he's way better than AJ. So, Wilder says that, and, normally I wouldn't even listen, but also, which was confirmed, but also, which was confirmed by ESPN, is that AJ's promoter, Eddie Hearn, said that he wants to make Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua fight next. Now, I don't know if I really believe this, because all the while they've been saying that the plan was to have Anthony Joshua fight the winner of Baby Miller and Johan Duhaupas, which are fighting at the Barclays Center. Have him fight the winner of that fight at the Barclays Center, and then hopefully by November, December of this year, that they could have a 2-fight deal in place with Deontay Wilder, home and home fight. In other words, one in the States, one in the UK. Listen, the only thing, first of all, I don't think that Anthony Joshua needs to fight the winner of Johan Duhaupas and Baby Miller. I say I'm with Deontay Wilder on this one, boys and girls. If I'm Team Anthony Joshua, make the fight. Make the home and home fight. Make the first one in the UK, the second one at the Barclays Center. Anthony Joshua is just as popular here in the States. He does not have to fight Baby Miller. Baby Miller does not deserve a fight with either Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua. What's your thoughts, Sal, Rocky Senecola?
Concur across the board. Let me tell you something. You have the fans of boxing calling for this fight. We've been calling for it for years. But this is the time to make that fight. And you know what? I believe Deontay Wilder wants this fight. I believe that Deontay Wilder has wanted this fight, whether it was his corner or what, that would make the inability for it to come to fruition earlier on. Okay, guess what? After this last performance we saw Deontay Wilder in, it's right. It's ripe. It's ready to go. And I'll tell you what, Anthony Joshua just got to get past Joseph Parker, and there should not be another fight that either of these guys face as far as opponents other than each other by either the summer or the fall. This fight has to take place with each of these fighters' next fight in mind. It's got to go. Go. No excuse.
I just think that what's going to happen is we are going to see Anthony Joshua come to the States and fight somebody, not AJ. Not Deontay. Then go back and fight Deontay, and then come back to the States and fight Deontay again. That's what I think is going to happen. I think that we will eventually see Deontay Wilder face Anthony Joshua early 2019. An interesting point, too, is that Hearn won't apparently Deontay Wilder has two management people. One legal manager in Shelley Finkel, and the other one who has no license to do anything in Al Heyman. Interesting to see that Eddie Hearn only wants to deal with Al Heyman and not Shelley Finkel, which I find kind of puzzling. But nonetheless, let's keep our fingers crossed for that fight. Now, another fight that is in the works was, signed, sealed, and delivered and scheduled for Cinco de Mayo, Triple G against Canelo Alvarez in the rematch, but there's been a bump in the road because Canelo has tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs as the world waits to see what the ruling is going to be. Nevada State Athletic Commission's scrambling around. WADA, DIDA, Buddha, WBC, they're all scrambling around, wondering what to do. So much money. I personally think Triple G shouldn't even fight Canelo. I think he should go after Billy Joe Saunders. Forget Canelo. listen, we all want to see, no cheaters. And I don't think anyone should get the special treatment. I don't care who the hell they are. I got sick and I threw up on a regular basis watching Floyd Mayweather get all the special treatment in Vegas. And finally, he's out of the picture. I hope I never see his face again. And now we got to deal with Canelo getting special treatment. Well, I have an email from my man Mitch. He says, Billy C., man, I'm listening to your show right now. You gave me all kinds of goosebumps by reading my email. I got my Friday off to a great start. I'm at work now, pumped. He says, about to listen to the rest of the show. You're right. With the illegal glove wraps and 2 failed tests, move on and fight Billy Joe Saunders to become the undisputed champion, which is what Triple G always wanted to do until the Canelo money came out of nowhere. He says, I don't blame him for going for the money, but I fear 8 months off for a guy who likes to fight 4 times a year, along with his age and fighting for a kid with a new physique, meaning Triple G. He says, I'd pass and fight Billy Joe Saunders overseas where he might get more money as the B-side. Hear me out. Anthony Joshua's purse was 13 million pounds. And for Parker, AJ's purse is 13 million pounds to fight Parker. That equates to a little over 18 million US. So someone might ask and say, why is AJ taking less money when he got 20 million US to fight a guy like Carlos Takam? Well, the answer is, and you kept saying this for months, that fighters keep asking Anthony Joshua for a bigger percentage. A bigger percentage of what is the question? Well, Parker is receiving 7 million pounds, which is $9 million, almost $10 million, $9,704,000 US. Think about what we're saying here. Parker, a man less people in the U.S. know than Deontay Wilder, is about to make $10 million. If he never fights again, he's set. So in order to pay him $10 million, Anthony Joshua has to play fair and make less than his $20 million. But once the other checks come in, the pay-per-view money, the gate, etc., AJ will make over $20 million again. These numbers have been confirmed by the UK's Sun paper, and he sent me a link. He says, I say this for 2 reasons. One, to debunk any listener who emails you to say that AJ's past earnings were exaggerated on your show, and how could he earn $20 million for a Takam fight when it's not even for a unification. And more importantly, number 2, Triple G doesn't care whose turf he fights on. So if he goes to fight Billy Joe Saunders in his hometown and the UK fans come out, Triple G will make more over there than he can fighting the cash cow in Las Vegas. So you're right. Triple G doesn't need Canelo at this point. Go unify and make more money than he can here. According to CBS Sports, Triple G made $3 million, and Canelo made, what does he say here? Canelo, well, I have it right. He sent me all of the commission's pay things. Canelo made $5 million for their last fight. Triple G made $3 million. Hey, just so you know, the way the outrageous numbers go, Joseph Diaz Jr. made $200,000 against his fight with Rafael Ramos, who made $15,000. Randy Caballero made $50,000. Diego De La Hoya made $80,000. And the closest fight really was Ryan Blue Chip Martin made $50,000 against Francisco Rojo, who made $25,000. So yeah, there's no doubt that you have favoritism when it comes to paying, the draws versus the B-side. But anyway, he says, you tell me he can't fight Saunders and make more than $3 million, even if they go and fight at a 21,000-seat arena, he will make more being the B-side. He says, I'm with you, F. Canelo. He makes some great points, Sal. I mean, if I'm Triple G at this point, I think I utilize the negativity surrounding Canelo right now with the performance-enhancing drug positive test and move on. Why take the risk? And hey, I would have. The last thing I want to hear from Triple G if he loses to Canelo is an excuse. I say make a statement for the sport. No fighter is bigger than the sport, and Canelo certainly is. I don't care how many commercials he's on. If I'm Triple G, I say forget it. I don't want to fight a cheetah and ruin. I mean, he will get his money's worth by having the masses labeled Canelo a cheater. He can't avoid it. I don't care what anybody says. He's a cheater.
Well, he is a cheater, and you know what? Like I said, he did they go through a hair strand to find out? And even though Canelo doesn't have long hair, I mean, you can't go back 6 months. With him.
Hair. You can go back up to 1 year.
No. But you have to have the hair long enough to go back. If your hair is 2 inches, you grow almost an inch of hair a month, or a half inch a month or so. So if you only have a 2-inch hairline, you're going back 4 months.
No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works, silly boy. No. You don't have to. So what are you saying? That you have to not get your hair cut for a year for it to work?
Shave your head.
That's not how it works.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you what. You made a good point. You could make the case in point that possibly, we saw a juiced up Canelo Alvarez. I say possibly, when he fought and had the draw. In my mind, that was a Triple G with victory, but against Triple G a couple months back. And if Triple G wanted to put insult to injury there onto Canelo Alvarez, say, hey, you know what? We don't know what the status was. Was he juicing when we fought the first fight? I don't want to take a chance of him slipping something and doing this the second fight. He proved wrong. I always make my blood tests, everything else come out. I'm fine. So the bottom line is, I don't want to fight a potential cheater or someone that's been labeled that. Here's what he says, because it hurts my credibility too. I don't want to be associated with a cheater. So I'm going to go and fight Billy Joe Saunders and retain and attain another belt if he can do that.
And then walk away. Because then he would have all the belts.
He's an undefeated, unified world champion, and the middleweight division is all under his guys, and you have a real solid ending to an illustrious career that Triple G could have. And you know what? I'll tell you what. Billy Joe Saunders is not going to be a lay-down fight.
No.
But it would be a good fight.
Like we always say, Sal, you're only as good as people are going to remember your last fight. It's going to haunt you forever. And I'm sure that Triple G isn't going to want to step in the ring and come out with an L against Canelo, and then in the back of his mind thinking Canelo got away with cheating. It won't sit well with him. It won't sit well with Triple G mentally, and it certainly won't sit well when you look at the full career and when it's all said and done. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Dax Khan is scheduled to join us, and he'll give us his thoughts on the fights from this weekend, so don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back, part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love.
If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking of being with us, right now joining us from, I don't know what, but Mon is going to give us his thoughts on the big fights from this weekend. What's up, Dax?
Good morning, everybody.
How much snow do you have? Do you still have a bunch of snow on the ground or what?
Oh, yeah, we still have a lot on the ground. Yesterday was a warm day. Today, it's a bit chilly outside. We're supposed to be getting another storm, so see what happens.
Yeah, tomorrow, I heard, tomorrow and Wednesday. Sal just keeps laughing. But this is how people go crazy. You know how when you say, you're getting, what do they call it? Like, what do they call that? Winter?
Sun affective, just like sad.
Well, you go nuts. You're looking out the window and you see a foot of snow, and then all of a sudden you look up in the sky and you see another foot falling. It's like, it's depressing, man.
It's like a bombardment. It's like relentless. It's and what you're talking. All I can think back is Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
I was thinking that myself. I was saying,
I knew it.
It's a good thing I didn't take that job at that resort that was closed for the winter. But
I'll tell you.
All I remember is put out your can, 'cause here come the garbage, man. Scatman Crothers, remember? Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, some great fights this past weekend, Dax. Let's start with Fridays first. We were talking about the Prograis fight against Indongo. And, man, did he blow out Indongo or what? What's your thoughts?
It was great. We knew Prograis is talented. He now holds an interim trinket. It was an impressive stoppage of Julius Indongo. I don't want to detract from it, but you stated yourself. I was vocal about it on social media. A lot of people were. And Indongo didn't really look that best health-wise. Not saying he took a dive, but, he was being hurt by jabs. They were actually, kind of forcing him backwards. They weren't overly hard. The only real hard punch that appeared hard anyway, of course, we're not taking these shots, but the only one that really appeared hard was that last one that dropped him to end the fight. Prograis right now, he's feeling like Superman, and he should. The 140-pound division is very tough, after his last 3 wins, Prograis has definitely made a statement. As he's saying, I'm the man to beat in this division, but I really don't think so. I hope he doesn't let his head, inflate itself too much. There's a lot of tough guys in that division. Jose Ramirez and Antonio Orozco are guys based in the States who hit just as hard. Orozco has been in with and beaten better fighters. Ramirez, same thing outside of the Orozco win. Josh Taylor, if Prograis expects to have this WBC title fight, Josh Taylor, the former Olympian from the UK, he's the 140-pound WBC silver champion. He himself has become a knockout artist over his last few fights, a lot like Prograis has. He had stopped Winston Campos, Miguel Vasquez, or Davies. And like this continuous talk of Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, Regis Prograis would have to go over there and be the B-side. So that's definitely a fight to look forward to. funny thing about Terrence Crawford this weekend, he kind of bashed all the announcers from all the different networks, saying, now that I leave the division, all of a sudden it's a hotbed. And you know, he found that funny, and, you know, it just kind of says, it enforces what I said on Friday. You know, Terrence Crawford, he was just so dominant that nobody really gave him a chance, anybody else a chance at beating him. That's why it's become such a hotbed, because pretty much everybody in that division, no matter who's there now, any of these new title holders, were just going to be Terrence Crawford opponents.
Well, I will agree with TC that the announcing teams were so sickening. I mean, the Showtime group is all corporate. I mean, they make their guys sound like they're invincible. And then you flip over to ESPN, and that new guy is terrible. I'm just glad I have a mute button. But let's keep moving on with the fights only for we don't need to bash those guys. I could bash them all day. It just makes me sick. But Ivan Baranchyk impressed me because I know you saw Peter Petrov ringside. I got to see him fight a couple of times, and he's no slouch fighter. And I know Baranchyk is an exciting fighter, but you know, I didn't think he was going to – I got to be 100% honest. I didn't think he was going to dismantle Petrov in the manner in which he did. I mean, I was surprised that fight went 6 rounds. That could have been over in 2. I mean, what'd you think?
You know, I said on Friday that Petrov, you know, usually fails in these step-up fights, and we all agreed that, you know, Petrov is a solid fighter fundamentally. And there's only a knockout loss prior to the Friday night. It was to Marcus Maidana, again, a prime Maidana, who at 140 pounds was, you know, a total different beast. You know, Baranchyk early in his career, you know, was a knockout machine. Was coming out there and, you know, just looking to, you know, swinging for the fences. But, you know, he seemed a little bit more composed. You know, those were much lesser fighters than Petrov. You know, Petrov had his moments in the fight, but, you know, Baranchyk, he managed to not go and revert to his wild swinging ways. It was a good fight, even though Petrov is a more naturally smaller fighter. I think if Ivan Baranchyk can remain composed like he did in Friday's fight against Petrov, even at those moments when Petrov had some success with Baranchyk on the ropes, that Ivan Baranchyk can definitely be a force in this division. You know, it's only time is only going to tell, but, you know, right now I think that Ivan Baranchyk is definitely a guy to be looked at seriously. And Peter Petrov is at the tail end of his career. He's not a stepping stone. He's not a journeyman. But, you know, 135 pounds is definitely where he's more suited. So it's interesting to see where Ivan Baranchyk goes next and to watch his progression.
No doubt. And I'm looking forward to that, to be honest with you. Junior Fa, a heavyweight, also fought on that card. We got to see him. He's got a lot of work to do. I mean, they were talking about putting him in. He's ready. Oh, he wants to fight this one. I don't know about that. What'd you think?
No, Junior Fa looked horrible. I think Junior Fa was a case of he came out there and he just thought he was going to blow Lewis out. And when there was a little bit of resistance on there, Junior Fa kind of got maybe not discouraged, but I don't think he was ready for that type of resistance. Junior Fa, and I was stating this during the fight, that I'd like to see him actually snap the jab and work behind it. He's a decent boxer. He had a fair amateur career. He did have a couple wins over Joseph Parker in the amateurs. I think if Junior Fa can work behind that jab and use his combinations a little bit more, he won't be gassed. You know, he wasn't tired as early as Craig Lewis was, but Junior Fa did get tired. I know there was a lot of holding and a lot of resting inside there, and also a lot of that could have had to have been, you know, maybe some nerves. You know, who knows it? But it'd be interesting to see what happens with him next. But right now, Junior Fa is, you know, just you know, a prospect, a new starter. What more can you say about him? You know, it was definitely a C performance, but, you know, he's an interesting guy, as are all the heavyweights right now.
Okay, so now we got we're gonna jump over to the Valdez Quigg fight. You know, I love Oscar Valdez style. I think this kid is going to go places. I do think he needs to work on his conditioning. He seems to run out of gas halfway through a fight. He's done it in his last 3 fights, but this particular fight was a war. We find he fought with a broken jaw. Scott Quigg came over 3 pounds. My question to Sal earlier was, you know, was it him just missing the mark, or was it a planned, you know, tactical move? What was your thoughts in the fight, and if you thought that the weight was a mistake or tactical?
No, I don't think it was tactical, because obviously that automatically eliminated Scott Quigg from winning the title, so that would just be foolish. How that happened, who knows? Maybe he undertrained, maybe he overtrained. hindsight is only 20/20. Scott Quigg usually comes in on point, and usually, he trains to the fullest. This is the first time that I think, in my memory anyway, that Scott Quigg has come in over. As for Oscar Valdez, I agree. He looked, he looked very good. I think that he showed a little bit more composure, as I was saying with Ivan Baranchyk in this fight, than he has in the past. He looked a little bit more defensively responsible. The work rate of Valdez has always been the difference, and Valdez, the fact that he dealt with that broken jaw and he was able to actually hurt Scott Quigg to the body, mix up his attack. I like this new version of Oscar Valdez. So again, he's a young guy, even though he's a champion, and he has his 24th or 25th win. I think Oscar Valdez is still a work in progress, but another few fights, Oscar Valdez is definitely going to be one of the elite fighters of the sport.
Sal made a point about weight earlier, and he said, well, when he used to fight, Sal, you said I used to bring my scale with me. The one thing I will say about that is it doesn't matter what your scale says, because and I used to tell fighters all the time, because a promotion, when a sanctioning body will have the exact scale on premises the day before the weigh-in, most cases, or at least several hours before the weigh-in, so you can check and that's the only scale that matters. Whether their scale is accurate or not, that's the scale that matters. Could it be that fighters are relying too much on their own scales?
Well, if I could say, Bill, hopefully they'll be smart enough. And, you can't go to CVS and buy a little scale. And I'm sorry about plugging CVS, but
I know. Hey, you know what, Dax? I'm sorry. We can't send you any more T-shirts or anything like that because Sal is spending all of the revenue.
No.
So
you can't go to a local pharmacy or department store. See, I didn't even say which department store.
Thanks, Sal. Hey, thanks.
And I'm learning, Bill. I'm learning. And so, and you can't just step on it and assume, okay, it says I'm 165 pounds. Okay, I got 5 pounds to lose to make middleweight. No. What I'm saying is you get that scale. It's got to be a fairly decent brand scale, but you balance it to a medical scale that's certified and balanced. Those scales, they have to be certified. They have to be balanced. They have to be approved. They go through regulations just like a fighter or somebody else will. It has to be a balanced scale, a true to weight scale. And so when you go to your a physician's or your friend or a doctor that has a balanced certified scale, you could balance your own scale to that scale, and you could compensate. Like I have my bathroom scale upstairs. I have it under 6 pounds because that's the true weight of what I balance. I still do it to this day. So that scale is 6 pounds negative, starting to be balanced when I step on a scale to be positive.
Yeah,
when I 6 pounds negative makes Sal feel better.
Hey, Dax. All I know is when I get on the scale, it says, "Come on, one of you guys got to get off." But the truth of the matter, though, Sal. And all kidding aside, I don't care what kind of calibration you make a scale or whatever. At the end of the day, they go by the commission scale. And I'll tell you a God's to honest truth story. I was doing an event in the state of Georgia. It happened to have been in Georgia. And the promoter was such a whack job, all right? He never showed up. And kudos to the commissioner at the time, who's now the commissioner in California. He stuck around because he knew that the fighters had spent all that time preparing, et cetera, et cetera. And they weighed these guys on a sidewalk in the pouring rain, okay? The sidewalk was tilted because, it had, for rain runoff, it was tilted so that when the rain hit it would run off so that the water wouldn't build up in front of these buildings. And they literally zeroed out an old style, not a digital, an old style, weight, triple beam type scale on there. And I'm looking at the commissioner and I'm going, how can this be accurate? I mean, these poor fighters, and he's going, well, we zeroed it out. It's going to have to work. And I was just like, oh, man. Thankfully, nobody missed weight. But But could you imagine if you're doing like what Sal is suggesting, Dax, and you spend the money, you get a digital scale, you have a calibrated, you have it all done right, and then you're stepping on a scale. It's they got a rock level in it, and it's on a sidewalk, and it's up. Sorry, you didn't make weight. I mean, it's true though. You go by the commission scales. Trust me when I tell you, fellas.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, the Bartholomew Relika fight, Sal. Dax was exciting. If you're a Relika fan, because Bartholomew, even his corner, I thought was going to start giving him shots in the corner. The guy did nothing. What was your thoughts?
The whole card, just to make a note on matchmaking, the combined record of all the fighters in that card was 320 wins, 62 losses, 4 draws with 214 knockouts. So, that was a quality card. And the Cairo Relic, he came in, a different fighter than we've seen in the last fight. Relic, both his previous losses were disputable. Rances Bartholomew, he started out with the jab. He thought he was going to use the ring. He thought he was going to more or less out-cute Relic, but, Relic, that constant pressure just really wore Bartholomew down. And not only was it constant pressure and volume punching, but, he mixed up his attack. He went to the body, he went upstairs, so he gave Rances Bartholomew no time to adjust. He gave Rances Bartholomew no time to think about, what's coming next. So Cairo Relic did a great job, and you have to say to yourself, this kid, if he had a little bit more power, this might be the guy who could take over that division. That's the only thing that I see in him, that despite having 19 knockouts in his career, I didn't see a huge puncher on Saturday night, but I definitely seen a very solid fighter who used the entire ring. He used angles, he used footwork. So you know what? I thought it was a great win. And Rances Bartholomew, remember, this is his third or fourth division. I don't really think that he's a 140-pound fighter. I think he's a slick boxer, but maybe, he needs to go back down to the division as well. Maybe something comes out later on. Of course, some always does. Oh, I hurt my hand, I stubbed my toe. I used the wrong kind of gel in my hair. Who knows? But, it was very one-sided fight. Rances Bartholomew only had maybe 2 or 3 moments of success. And then in those last 2 rounds, remember, he started showboating for whatever reason. In my opinion, it was more or less that he was so embarrassed that he wanted to do something, at least make Relic have one mistake, that he can land one nice, clean highlight punch, knowing that, I'm not going to knock this guy out, but at least to give somebody to say, wow, did you see that? Did you see that punch he just landed? At least something, to give fans a thought to walk away other than, wow, man, that guy just really got schooled in there.
What I noticed was that it seemed, and sometimes these Cuban fighters, it seems that it happens a lot, but they're so technically sound, and their defense is so tight a lot of times, but their weakness, their kryptonite, seems to be against guys who are relentless, moving forward, throwing punches, and they don't care where they land type punches, and that's what Relika did. And I thought there was one part that was kind of funny. What's his name? Steve Farhood says, Relika's been landing punches everywhere, even on his hair, which I thought was kind of funny because Bartholomew had that funky eraser style haircut. But anyway, let's talk about the main fight.
One thing I didn't understand about the fight real quick, I had it a shutout 120-107 in favor of Relic, with that point deduction in round 7. I personally did not see how Alfredo Polanco and Cesar Ramos had it 118-109. And Rafael Ramos 117-110. Now, they gave it to the right guy, but I don't see how anybody gave Bartholomew a single round.
I agree. And the scoring, I'm telling you, something has to be done with the scoring. It's crazy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with giving a fighter every round if he wins every round. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I think some of these judges feel, that was a close round. I better give it to the guy that hasn't won a round yet. I think that's what they do in the back of their head. It's time to remove that. I know Sal disagrees with me on this, but I think it's time to remove the judges from ringside. The technology is good enough now where they can get different angles, and they should be put in an area where they can't hear any kind of distraction in terms of people cheering when punches don't really land or anything else. Nods and winks from promoters. I don't want to see it. I want to see them in cones of silence in a back room somewhere, and I'll bet you the scores come up better. But anyway, let's talk to the weekend. Mikey Garcia topping Sergey Lipinets for Lipinets' title. I was, to be honest with you, Dax, I was impressed with Mikey Garcia. I don't think that this is the right weight class for him, but I thought that he won the fight hands down. I thought that Lipinets showed that he's a good fighter. I can't wait to see him again. Like Sal and I discussed earlier, I don't think his stock went down, but I actually saw people that felt that Lipinets won the fight and said that Garcia wasn't landing punches, etc., etc. I saw Garcia landing lots of punches and just didn't have the pop to finish him off, although he busted him up well. You went on a limb and picked Lipinets to win the fight. How did you see it go?
My unofficial score, I should say, was 15-1-14 from Mikey Garcia.
Oh, so you even had it closer.
I had it very close, you know. This was a solid fight from start to finish. It exceeded expectations, I think, of just about anyone. You know, most people that I was looking at, you know, on social media, whether it was fans or other fighters, promoters, however you say it, a lot of people were saying that Mikey Garcia was going to score a knockout somewhere around the 7th and 9th round. And again, you're right. I went out on a limb and I said I picked Lipinets, you know, due to the reasons, you know, past performances at 140 pounds with Garcia. And again, it showed here that he doesn't have the that 140-pound power. There's always the one judge that feels obligated to hand in that 117, 111, or 118, 110 scorecard. Saturday, Julie Lederman and Nelson Vasquez, both competent judges, handed in the 117, 110. Take away the 7th round knockdown, it would have been 117, 111, and then the 116, 111 from Judge Mark Calloway, which was a little bit closer, but, you know, all from Mikey Garcia. The slower work rate of Sergey Lipinets, I believe, hurts him. You know, he's a guy who doesn't waste a lot of punches. He looks for more accurate shots, which is, you know, as a fighter who's a transitional fighter, so to speak. Remember, he came over from being a professional kickboxer, and he's made, you know, a very good transition, but I believe that lack of volume hurts him. You know, Lipinets had Garcia going backwards quite a bit, and, you know, regardless of what the announcers tried to say, or regardless of what maybe Team Garcia would like to say, is that, you know, Lipinets forced Mikey Garcia backwards. Remember, he also bloodied Mikey Garcia's nose up in the 2nd round. You know, Lipinets, you know, he did a very good job. Mikey Garcia, being the high skill fighter that he is, he was able to read some of the bad habits of Lipinets, like leaning to one side. Ruslan Provakinov has that type of skin and that bone structure that makes it look like he's taking worse of a beating than what he really is. You know, so his face was, you know, really swelling up. You know, Mikey Garcia, you know, more active, better footwork. Sergey Lipinets, I believe, he landed the harder shots, you know, despite that that knockdown by Mikey Garcia, where I believe Lipinets was a little bit off balance as much as he was getting hit. He got up. He didn't seem to be hurt. I actually gave him the rest of that round. You know, so I had, like I said, 115, 114 for Mikey Garcia. I gave him rounds 1, 2, 7, which was a 10-8 round, then 10, 11, 12. I gave Lipinets 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9.
You know, I don't think it was, you know, I mean, I don't think it was that close. And I don't think that, you know, I know that it looked like he was pushing him back, but he didn't push him back far, Sal. I mean, he pushed him back, you know, and then Mikey would have a tendency to go back like a step and then plant his feet, and then he would become the aggressor. So I don't know. Listen, I gained a lot of respect for Sergey Lipinets. I think he could beat most fighters. I just think that Mikey Garcia is a special fighter. I really do. Now, how much he's got left of being a special fighter, that's another story. I certainly don't think that he should move up to 147 like they were suggesting. No. I don't even know if he should stay in the 140-pound weight class, to be honest with you guys.
No, I don't.
I don't think so.
At all. You know, the hot topic, you know, last couple of weeks, Bill, Sal, of course, has been Canelo and his failed testing. You guys were talking about that earlier. You know, Louis Neary, the bantamweight WBC bantamweight champion, you know, he was just banned by Japan for life. You know, on August 23rd, 8 days after facing Shinsuke Yamanaka and winning that WBC bantamweight title by knockout, Neary tested positive for Zolpadorol. You know, it's a banned substance very similar to clenbuterol. The WBC and the Japanese Boxing Commission allowed that rematch to happen just to see, you know what, because Yamanaka was at that time the long. Yamanaka got a rematch, and it was a clean, no PEDs, and, you know, if we play out the same, which, you know, which I thought was fair. I believe that Neary should have got suspension, but you know what? They said, you know what? Let's see how you can do in a clean fight. Then what happened? You know, the fight on March 1st, Neary comes in overweight. You know, and he just totally disrespected the title. He totally disrespected the sport again. And now a lot of people are saying, you know, the Japanese Boxing Commission is being very harsh on him for suspending him for life. But, you know, in my opinion, I actually think that they did the right thing. And, you know, here is something to me that that goes along with the Canelo situation is Louis Neary and his promoter, Xanafer Promotions, out of Mexico. Xanafer Promotions, Fernando Beltran, the CEO of Xanafer Promotions, not only does he support Canelo, he supported him early in his career. He was one of the most vocal backers for Canelo out of Mexico for the first Triple G fight. But, you know, Xanafer has worked with Golden Boy Promotions many times, as recently as December 2017 when Ogawa was given that gift decision over Telvin Farmer, you know, July with the Burchell and Miura fights. You know, what's going on here? You know, that's almost like a TMZ moment where, you know, it's like, here you go. Yeah, people have like a close association relation. You guys are known to do business together. Your top guy tests positive for PEDs. Their top guy tests positive for PEDs. Nobody has seen them in a restaurant eating together as far as I know.
No. Well, listen, this whole PED thing is out of control, and the only way to curb it is to make a statement with a guy like Triple G. There should be no special, I mean, with Canelo, there should be no special treatment for Canelo. And, you know, he tested positive. It's time to pay the piper. I mean, you can't really say it any other way. But
now, was Japan harsh on what they did?
No, they're not, because they're making a statement. And the thing is that, you know, now, and Sal and I talked about this in the past, you know, by doing something like that, somebody has to initially take the hit, you know, and then everybody's going to think twice after that. Oh, geez, you know, but here's the way around it. The problem with the sport of boxing, fellas, is that, okay, you're banned from fighting in Japan. Guess what? That doesn't mean you're banned from fighting in the U.S. or banned from fighting somewhere else. So there are loopholes. But the truth of the matter is I say yes, Dax, that you need to make a stand and be strict, go over the top, and make a statement that says to fighters, listen, if you fail, you lose, brother. So if you're not listening to your trainer or nutritionist or whoever's telling you to drink this or take that, then it's your ass that's on the line. And there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it.
Now, what if at least one of the major sanctioning bodies, whether it be the WBC, the WBA, or WBO, said to everybody, they set that in stone. You're caught cheating one time, that's it. It's a lifetime ban. Or, you know, if all the commissions, whether or not it be state commissions, you know, or, you know, European Commission or something like that, they said it, you know, something one time and you're banned from fighting for here. One of the money places where fighters can make the most money, that would be huge for the sport, and that would definitely change things around. You know, for you know, the positive, just one place, you know, one major sanctioning body, one major organization saying that, you know, you're banned for life, no tolerance, zero tolerance. And on top of that, you know, Gianna Garibelli, you know, from over in Italy, you know, she had said something about, you know, she also agreed with what Japan did, and she supports that, you know, especially at that championship level. A champion is caught cheating. What does that say? That's, you know, all these younger guys that idolize, want to be like them, follow their mold. You know what? If Sal's using PEDs, why shouldn't I use PEDs? If Bill's using them, why shouldn't I use them? You know, same thing, you know, with a lot of these younger fighters. You know, if, you know, Wilder is using them, not saying that he is, why shouldn't I use them? If AJ's using them, why shouldn't I use them? And so on. You know, it's almost like inviting them in there. Instead, what these powers that be should be saying, you know what, he used him because he is the big man, he's the guy that represents the sport. I'm going to show you what happens. If he can go down for it, you can go down for it. Do you want to go down like him, or do you want to take his place and show him what could have been if he'd have done it the right way, and all of a sudden you become his idol?
Well, that's my point. My point is you got to make a stand, you got to make a statement, and whoever is the guy that statement is made with, so be it. You know, the worst part of this, and like you said, and we got to go, Dax, but like you said, you know, if all the commissions agree to it, well, the biggest joke of all is the WBC, because the WBC incorporated, they're the ones that came out with the Clean Act. They look like the ones that were going to clean it up. They make fighters sign up for VADA testing. They do all of this, and they were the first ones to publicly show their support to Canelo. after this. Even the WBA, which is the biggest joke of all the sanctioning bodies, I mean, really, they are. They're the ones that said, well, we're gonna sit back and see what happens after all the investigation. We're not going to make a statement on this yet. But the WBC already publicly gave their support to Canelo. Listen, Canelo needs to have some repercussions for this. Triple G does not need Canelo. This is his way of unifying the belts. Go fight Billy Joe Saunders. Make a statement. It'll help the sport. No fighter is bigger than the sport, and it's time that the sport makes that statement. And Triple G versus Canelo, or that fight not happening and exposing Canelo and using him as the poster child, is a perfect opportunity for the sport.
Wow.
I agree. In the United States, there's very few stars as it is. Triple G versus Billy Joe Saunders over in the UK, pretty much would be a slap in the face of Canelo and Golden Boy Promotions. And, one last thing, Japan, because that is the hotbed for all fighters 123 pounds and under, they did exactly what I said. They set that precedent. You know something? We're not taking it. You're a 123 and under pound fighter. You want to be a star here? Understand, you're going to be a star here only if you fight clean. So I applaud them on their decision.
Yep, me too. I think that they need to. You got to do it. You can't care who the person is. They made special arrangements for fighters that bring in big money. I won't say his name, but his initials are Floyd Mayweather. They made special arrangements for him. They're making special arrangements for Canelo. You can't do it. Why do you think no results have been, or no decisions have been made yet? Because of the amount of money that Canelo's bringing in, or supposedly going to be bringing in. No, they need to make a statement. It has to happen now.
My final thoughts on the Canelo is just that he has tested clean twice since that last that dirty testing. Caleb Truout and James DeGale, they have their rematch on April 7th. Nayo Inoue is making his bantamweight debut against Jamie McDonnell on May 25th. And Pacquiao, Lucas Matisse are in the works for June 24th.
Yeah, but there's a lot of discretion, not discretion. There's some disputes about that fight, so we'll have to keep and see. Dax, thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you later in the week, my man.
All right, everybody, enjoy the day. Sal, still waiting for the pie.
We'll get it to you, Dax. Take care.
Yeah, that's what he tells everybody, Dax. But in any event, no, I honestly think, listen, obviously to all the radio and television affiliates, we are not taking a break here. You figured that one out. We're 6 minutes over. We apologize. But the truth of the matter, Sal, is that they do, and I say they, meaning the powers that be in boxing, has to make a statement. If they pussyfoot around, and Dax just made a point that's ammunition for Team Canelo, where they'll say, well, they tested him twice since then, and he's tested clean. They tested twice. It's only been 2 weeks. It's not even full 2 weeks. So I don't want to hear about that. Somebody made an interesting point to me. I don't know enough about performance-enhancing drugs, and I purposely don't want to know. I don't want to be into this situation where I have to educate myself so much on something that is ever-changing on a daily basis. And in order to make statements about what this one does and what that one does, et cetera, you have to be up on it. I don't have the time, all right? But someone pointed out to me, because, I've learned a little bit about cycling in, cycling out and everything, and somebody pointed out to me that the advantage for Canelo to have taken this prior to officially starting a training camp for this fight would have been to help him with conditioning so that he comes to camp in better conditioned shape, meaning maybe he can run 50 miles or whatever the case is with the help of a performance-enhancing drug. Now, that is still with him. It's not like he's going to lose that work that he's gained from the help from the performance-enhancing drug. So even if he doesn't take any from this point on, he's already gained the benefit, which is still cheating, Sal.
Well, sure it is. I mean, if you're ingesting something or you're taking something that's going to not be legal but help you or build muscle tissue, build endurance, do whatever it can do, and it's not a legal substance of the rules and laws of engagement with boxing, yeah, you should definitely have to have some repercussions and pay dearly. Because what you're doing is, like you suggested, the boxing industry, the boxing game is almost, if they don't do anything about this, and somebody does this on purpose, is turning the cheek, and they're making concessions. They've got to. You made a good point. Make an example and do this, and you know, even though it's not what we would like to see, because we would love to see a Canelo rematch, but what a better statement it would be to put him up, as you suggested, as a poster child. That this is why you don't use banned substance, because now Canelo Alvarez lost a multi-million-dollar fight and a chance to be great.
Well, let me ask you this. If you're Canelo Alvarez and you get caught and you get punished, and you're a young fighter looking up to Canelo, wouldn't you think twice? And by the way, if you're Canelo, would you ever do it again?
No, first of all, I don't know the reasoning, and that's why I said for Canelo, you know, unless it was some tainted beef, I don't know. I just don't understand, because, you know, Canelo looks like he has enough God-given talent and gift and body to do what he can do naturally, and to think that you're going to gain something abnormally better or something by taking a substance is false confidence in my book, where you're having to have something to give you the competitive edge that you normally would not have if you abide by the rules and regulations. So that right there says there's a flaw in his confidence or his ability to think that, wow, my body and my mind is all I need, and a blessing from God above to make sure that I'm going to be at my best to do what I have to do to win. So, you know, he's not putting that confidence in if this is an intentional ingestion of a illegal substance. So with him not having it, even though he may have already gained the benefits of utilizing it or having it in his system, you know, it's an argument, and that's what I'm saying. It's a bad message to send out to the youth. It's a bad message to send out to the fans of boxing. So I don't know how they should deal with it, and I'm sure he's going to make every apology or every excuse, and the tests he can have are going to be all negative here out. But, you know, he did use some kind of substance that got into his system. That's all.
Well, all I know is, you know, when my man Mitch sent me the data sheet on the bicyclist who had 50 picograms of the same stuff in his system. He was banned from competition. And, you know, Canelo Alvarez had hundreds of picograms. That came up not once but twice. And the boxing is still trying to wonder, what should we do? What should we do?
Look what you just said. Do you remember? You want to talk about a cyclist? You want to talk about the famed, celebrated, endorsed, riddled kind of athlete, Superman, superpower, in Lance Armstrong with the bicycle? And then when they found that there was a substance, after he won every phenomenal and broke every record, everything else, every endorsement, what did they do to him after? They totally banned him. He lost everything, and his name is no longer associated with the greatness that he achieved because they found there was some kind of substance that he was utilizing all along. If I'm incorrect, please correct me, but this is what I remember. I don't know.
No, listen, not only that, but they took some didn't they take some
the
of
medals back?
Yeah,
they took everything back. What I'm
took,
saying is, if I was wrong in my statements,
no,
let me know. No. I think that's all I can remember back. That Lance Armstrong was a superhuman being as he was looked at by the cycling sport for winning every bike race that he entered, and it was just a phenomenal athlete, a specimen.
And you want to know the truth? You want to know the truth? Until I'm sitting there going, oh, yeah. While you're saying that, I'm going, oh, yeah. What was his name again? And then thank God you remembered his name. Because his name, I already forgot. I already forgot the guy's name. Wow. That's the price you pay when you come tumbling down. And if you think about, this is my point, Sal. If you were a guy like Canelo Alvarez, and you knew that you would risk that, you would think twice about trying to get away with it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. But anyway, listen, tomorrow, we are going to talk about, there was a proposal for an overweight punishment rule. We got into talking about the steroids and stuff, but there's a proposal for an overweight punishment rule that was publicized the other day, yesterday, I think. And we'll talk about that tomorrow. So don't forget to tune in. But on this day, March 12th, in boxing history, in 1973, Kunaki Shibata wins a 15-round decision over Ben Villaflore to win the WBA junior lightweight title, and that took place in Honolulu, Hawaii, on this day in 1973. On this day in 1929, Corporal Izzy Schwartz wins a 12-round decision over Frenchie Bellinger to retain his world flyweight title. It took place in Toronto, Canada. There's just the boxing names that there used to be just don't exist anymore. And Corporal Izzy Schwartz against Frenchie Bellinger. You gotta love that. You gotta love that.
I love that.
Yeah, and here's a guy that always comes up when the Floyd Mayweather fans start bragging about 50-0 from Floyd. My man Coach always puts everyone back in their place with this guy, Jimmy Wilder, because on this day, March 12th in 1917, Jimmy Wilder stops George Clark in the 4th round to retain his world flyweight title. And that took place in London. And I think Jimmy Wilder fought like 100 fights before he lost his first fight. You know, we always say Julio Cesar Chavez fought 80-something before his first loss. You know, the only guy that has a chance to come close to breaking Rocky Marciano's 50 or 49 win record in the heavyweight division currently right now, Deontay Wilder. He's at 40-0. So truthfully, 10 more fights and he breaks the record. You can dissect it and beat up his level of opposition as much as you want, but that would be a true breaking Marciano's record. Nothing that Floyd did. But anyway, on this day, March 12th in 1891, my man Coach in the chat room, he was born on this day. He was, and on 1891. No, on this day in 1891, young Griffo retains his world featherweight title via a 20-round disqualification over George Powell during their scheduled 30-round contest that took place at the Sydney Amateur Gymnastic Club in Sydney, Australia. And that took place on this day in 1891. Hey, boys and girls, that concludes our show for today. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.